Hey y'all, welcome back. Tonight's campfire is actually a pretty dark little urban legend from the town of Woodruff, South Carolina, just east of Greenville. Or is it Greenville? I don't know. Now, I personally have never been out there to Woodruff, but the pictures that I saw online just look like it has the cutest downtown area, which of course is totally opposite of what you might expect after we're done here around this campfire. So sit back and try to relax as I tell you about an incredibly grim landmark known as Seven Devils Bridge. In the small town of Woodruff, there's an infamous bridge that crosses over Little Ferguson Creek, a bridge that is considered to be extremely haunted. Legend says that if you dare cross it at midnight on any given night, you quite possibly may be overcome with uncontrollable bouts of crying and screaming, or worst of all, you may just lose your mind. The original bridge, believed to be the source of this paranormal activity, is no longer there, but the new bridge is seemingly no less haunted. Many years ago, the original bridge was the site of an unfortunately familiar tale in the antebellum South. 7 runaway slaves were brought there and lynched. After attempting to escape to freedom, the men were captured by a mob just a mile or so from this very spot. They were then dragged to the bridge, beaten, humiliated, and tortured, before finally being hanged. Horrifically, these men's bodies were then left to decompose in the heat and humidity, as a warning to other runaway slaves that this is what happens if you attempt to escape. According to legend, the 7 men's vengeful ghosts still terrorize the spot to this very day, and it's for that reason that it has become known as the Seven Devils Bridge. According to local lore, crossing the bridge at precisely midnight is a truly traumatic experience. Many who have done it are reported to have either gone insane or suffered a massive mental breakdown. Others who visited but don't dare to cross claim that even being near the bridge around midnight is enough to send shivers up their spine and make them want to run. Some of these folks claim to feel an overwhelming sense of dreadful despair and loneliness, as if their experience with the victims of that infamous lynching felt so many years ago. Others say they've actually seen mystical and eerie greenish-colored lights emanating from off in the distance while sitting on the haunted bridge. No one knows what these lights are for sure, but many believe that they're the manifestations of the spirits roaming the area searching for a place of peace and refuge. But of all the paranormal happenings, unusual sights, and sounds, one of the most horrific are the apparitions of these 7 angry spirits floating around the trees at night. Who these enslaved men were in life is unknown, but the bridge is close to the historical Price House. This building was constructed in 1795 by Thomas and Ann Price, who used it as an inn, a post office, and a tavern. Much of the work done in their business was in fact carried out by slave labor, as the couple owned more than 24 enslaved people. But whether or not these 7 lynched men were in fact runaways from the Price House is unknown, so who they are is ultimately a mystery. Of course, with this reputation, the bridge has become quite the spot for local legend trippers, who either want to experience the horrors firsthand or just boast about their bravery. Most who've taken the challenge end up broken down and screaming, but one local reported physical manifestations when her chest suddenly started hurting as she crossed the structure. Then, when her friend examined her later, her chest was covered with red, blotchy marks. Another pair of locals claimed that when they made the trek down to the Seven Devils Bridge, they became so overwhelmed by uncomfortable feelings that they turned around as soon as it entered into their view, And that's when they realized that the time was 11:45. Then, as the pair drove away, one of the men began crying uncontrollably, an emotion he typically did not show. But while so many have claimed to become disturbed by whatever energy is there at the bridge, some purportedly use it for another reason, as a ritual site for occultist gatherings. As a result, a resident who lives close to the site claims he frequently finds things like animal bones there. While another local cautions folks, "I'm gonna warn you, this is a very evil place. Take your Bible and pray before you go." My name is Brandon Schexnayder, and you've been listening to Southern Gothic.